Nice to see you again. In the last video, we talked about networking and how important it is to share the workload that will undoubtedly be too large for you to shoulder yourself. Now let's turn our thoughts to some other principles that can help you to avoid teacher burnout. Two researchers, Ellen Skinners and Kathleen Edge, wrote a book about self-determination and demonstrated that there were two principal factors that helped people to avoid burnout. The first one we have already talked about, forming a network, or as they called it, social support or community. The second one is what I'd like to talk about now. They said that in order to avoid burnout, teachers need a sense of control. A sense of control, huh? Well, what could that mean? Why would some teachers feel in control and others feel out of control? Let's talk about it. There is no doubt that as a teacher, there are certain things in your control and certain things that are not. If you are teaching in the United States, Japan, Russia, Korea, the United Arab Emirates, it doesn't matter. No matter where you go, you will be able to control some things, but not others. So, to maintain a sense of control, it often isn't so much how much control you have or where you are, but what you do with what you have got. And this is where teachers have to be creative. Here is what I have seen from the happiest teachers. First of all, the happiest teachers focus on the things they can do, not the things they cannot. As teachers, we should spend the majority of our time enjoying the amount of freedom we are given. Even if you can't choose your own books, your own tests, and your own salary, I wish. There is a lot of freedom you do have to create. Enjoy the opportunities to explore, experiment, and teach in your style and in your way. You are, even with a lot of controls placed upon you, the dictator of your own classroom. Do you have any idea of how wonderful an opportunity you have and the amount of freedom you have to influence others? Teachers who tend to focus on the things they can't do are often the most miserable. And teachers who focus on the things they can do are often the most creative and most interesting. Second, the happiest teachers are agents of change. Let's be honest. Sometimes you don't have control to do a lot of things that you want and need to do as a teacher, and it can be frustrating. Some teachers in many countries are suffering because they don't have enough resources, like textbooks and technology. A teacher trainer friend of mine from Iraq explained recently that she visited a school in Basra that didn't even have a ceiling. So school was always canceled when it rained. How frustrating is that? Some days you will be frustrated because the projector isn't working and the internet isn't available. All that time you spent, now what? And if you have ever worked with a large group of teachers, can I just tell you the amount of anxiety that is caused when the copier breaks down? All these things can limit you and can affect your ability to teach English. But please don't think that because you are limited for now, that you will always be limited. Always, always be an agent for change. Rather than thinking about all the things that limit your control, you can quietly and carefully change your culture however you can. I'll never forget a time when we didn't have a library at one of my schools. Several teachers sprang into action, contacted public libraries, and collected books by organizing a book drive. Would you believe it? After 1 month, we had over 3,000 titles. Those are agents of change. I always tell my teachers, don't think, can I change my environment? But how can I change my environment? By focusing on influencing your environment and trying to improve it, you will find that you have better optimism and will have a greater sense of control. You will also realize how willing people are to join you in a cause that matters. Your passion will spring people into action. Third, the happiest teachers find balance. Let's talk about you outside the world of teaching. Here is yet another problem. Language teachers sometimes are, well, what I would call givers. They will spend hours and hours grading homework. I know teachers who will write individual notes for every student and pore over lesson plans late into the night. I love it when teachers give everything to their profession. I do. However, I hope you will allow me to give you a word of advice, especially for those of you that spend countless hours improving a single worksheet or color in a giant poster of a single vocabulary word. Stop. In moments when you feel yourself lost in the thick of thin things, please take a moment to step outside of the teaching world and be human again. What do I mean by be human? I don't know, go out for ice cream with your children. Take your spouse to a movie. Call a friend. Spend time doing your favorite hobby. The best teachers in the world that I know are dedicated to their students, but also dedicated to their lives and to making themselves interesting. Having a hobby, enjoying an activity, will recharge your batteries and prevent you from seeking out the complainers. Fourth, the happiest teachers cherish the rewards of teaching. Teaching often doesn't come with a lot of money attached to it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come without rewards. Take time to reflect on the rewards that you do receive. Celebrate the moments when students are able to achieve their goals, and keep the notes you receive from students that tell you that you were an influence for good in their life. After all, you didn't get into teaching for the money. You got into it for something else, and that something else matters, and you know it. Above all, remember that language is like a fire, and that you are trying to ignite each student. But if you run out of fire, you will simply no longer be able to inspire and motivate students. Remember that even in a learner-centered approach, paying attention to your students doesn't mean neglecting yourself. Thanks for watching Teach English Now. We'll see you next time as we discuss one final principle. Remember how I told you to be an actor? What if I told you that in the next lesson, I want you to do exactly the opposite? See you then.